Today we have a highly anticipated episode. We have Miquel Girones here, straight from Asuncion, Paraguay. I know the people have been asking for this collab for a long time, so that's what we have in today's episode. Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Miquel, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. Excited to
Absolutely.
be here. I've listened to this intro many times and boom, now it's happening live.
I know we were trying to make it happen back
For
in
months.
around the episode 50 mark, but now we're getting you in for around the episode 250 mark.
There you go. It's been an incredible ride, man. Congrats, the consistency.
Yeah, and for you too. I mean, I imagine it's a very different conversation we're probably going to have today compared to the one we would have had 2 years ago in the earlier days, because you've grown a lot through this process, right?
Yeah, totally. It's been an incredible ride on citizenships, residencies, 0% tax strategies, how to fly the world with 95% off. I took a flight, for example, from Europe to Panama City. It was $6,200 and I got it for $263, saving $6,000 just by using the right credit card points. And this is something that anybody can do, just a matter of knowing how.
So we're definitely going to get into some nitty gritty in this episode, talk about, zero tax and passports and some high value stuff and stuff that you can use for your Instagram clips. But I thought maybe we'll kick it off with some fun questions, some softball questions. So I wanted to ask you about style. You got kind of a good European nouveau riche style. People see this on the Instagram and everything. You got the sweater game on lock. Where should people shop? Where if I'm in
The
Madrid, if I'm
sweater
in
game.
Barcelona, where should I be shopping?
Oh, that's interesting. I like we're starting with these questions because it's something that usually I don't talk about. So I appreciate that we bring it on something more new topics. Basically, the trick here, man, is just getting something tailored. This is something I do with my pants, with my shirts, with my underwear. No, I'm joking. This is something that it gives this exclusive feeling, or something that one makes you feel super comfortable, and two, it looks great. So I can just shop anything in Massimo Dutti or Zara, any shop that it's like looking good. But then when you add extra $20, $30, $50 to bring it to a tailor and just get it sharp, man, it makes the difference. So I would say just get a bit of clothes that you feel good in. You like the colors, especially the materials. It's the most important. Choosing a right color palette. It's something that I invested a lot of time thinking on.
Hmm.
Which would be the best one for me. I usually wear these light grays, this beige, this white, black, brown, wooden colors, golden colors,
Uh-huh.
and the material, right? You want some cashmere, maybe when it's a bit more cold or autumn weather in Madrid, Barcelona, Marbella, this, or you want some linen when you are having these tropical warm adventures in Mexico, in Tulum, in Florianopolis, in Asunción, right? Something fresher. But once the material and the colors are great, then you just bring it to the tailor, and then the magic happens, and you obtain this look that you mentioned, that you see on social media.
You like the beige. I noticed that.
Yes.
You got the
Yeah, man. I love it.
I didn't know about Massimo Dutti. I'd never heard of it, but I look it up and they actually even have one in Canada, because I'm here. We're recording this 10 days before Christmas. So
Hmm.
I'm in Canada for Christmas and they actually have a Massimo Dutti here.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Wait, so
Yeah, man.
if I was in Barcelona though, or Madrid, where do I go?
I would say just a brand that to save time, because I'm very this thing of saving time. Usually I shop twice a year, three times a year max. I don't usually shop that often, to be honest, and I'm pretty minimalistic. If we go there during the podcast, people will know more about how I traveled the world for 2 years and a half with only one backpack of 30 liters. That's
Hmm.
how I started. And then I bought a second one. And now I'm in my fifth year of traveling nonstop. No fixed home, no anything to sell or keep my things, no wardrobe or anything like that. In two backpacks. One is like 35 liters and the other is 30. That's it. I live a pretty minimalistic life. Therefore, my luggage. I didn't check in a single bag during all this time. I never put the bag on the plane. I always carry it with me. I put it on the cabin, but I never had to check in. So I save
Uh,
also a lot of time not having to wait for the luggage to arrive at
yep.
the airport.
Carry on
And I can
only.
travel, yeah, carry on only. I can just travel light and fast. I can get on a moto taxi. I can get on a normal taxi. I can get on a bus, a train, a plane, an helicopter. It doesn't matter. I'm always light. And this is a philosophy I had from the beginning and I still keep it. So I had to design a wardrobe that allows me to always look good with a few color combinations, and a couple shirts with a couple pants or shorts, couple pairs of shoes, and voila.
So you said you do two backpacks, or because
Yeah,
I do a backpack and then the a carry on hard shell
yeah,
roller luggage, but you
yeah.
do two backpacks.
Yeah, actually, let me answer it. Can you pass me the two backpacks, please? Yeah. So actually, this is happening live. I'm gonna show you here, or for somebody who's watching the YouTube edition, I'm gonna put some clips and on my channel, and they can see exactly what backpacks. But for the audio version, I'm gonna describe them. One is the Nike backpack that is for, I would say, running, more designed for running gear and stuff. It's this one, and the other is a nomadic. Nomadic is one that I love, man. It's a brand that I've been buying for, yeah, as I say, 5 years. I bought two exact same models, and I don't get tired of it. It's this nomadic travel backpack, 30
Hmm.
liters. It's 20, expandable to 30, but it's quite of a small one, as you can see here on the camera, right?
Hmm.
So
And
it's
that's the
just a
bigger of the two.
well, that's the smaller, but the other it's just 5 liters bigger, so it's not that
Ah,
different. So this one is more for my hikes as well. I carry one
right.
for the laptop and more when I'm going to a presentation, an event, something more formal. And the other one when I go to my trainings, when I go hikes, so I can sweat on it and it's really comfortable. This Nike one, it has a lot of pockets, something that I like a lot. I like the secret pockets as well, man. That's something I look for in a backpack. Maybe it's from my my profession as well that you always try to find the loopholes. We're going to talk
Hmm.
about later, but there's a secret pocket over here in the other one. You can just put things that airports don't like you to carry. For example, lighters, right? They have one of these lighters. It's like a torch,
Hmm.
and it's amazing. I don't smoke, but I use it for incense, for candles. I put a lot of those when I'm traveling to feel a bit homey feeling, and I put it in these secret pockets. So sometimes it appears on the machine and they stop me. It's like, do you by any chance carry like a lighter? It's like, lighter? Which one? Like, just open the bag. They start opening and nobody can find it. Or sometimes they ask me for, and what you have to do, that's a trick to bring lighters that are like these torches, not like the real one, but something is like a rocket. It's like from Tesla or from, in this case, it's SpaceX, right? It's you deplete it. You deplete it, and then they allow you to. And then when you arrive to a new country, you just go to any cigar lounge or any tobacco seller shop, and they
Hmm.
recharge it in like 10 seconds, and boom, you have a full lighter again. So it's always about finding these loopholes when you're traveling and something is prohibited. It's how can I find the allowed version of that thing? And many of the times you realize that it's not that difficult. It just requires a little bit of creativity. But I would say to people, don't accept a no for an answer. Just always find how can I get a yes? How can I work a way around it?
Good tips. So when you're in the airport, you do the one bag like on the front. You do like normal
And one
backpack
at the
and then
back.
the
Yeah.
front back. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's the most stable one. Like I like we're going very in detail on something I never talked about. So it's really cool. I tried having in both shoulders, but then it's like a lot of weight. It's not
Yeah. Yeah.
comfortable. You know that. You're saying no with your head. The other is bringing it on my hands, but then it's more like a workout, to be honest, like a farmer's walk around
It
the airport,
does.
like
Your
running
your
like
hand
that.
feels it. Your hand
Yeah,
feels it after a
yeah.
while. Yeah.
So if that day I did not work out, like that's funny, man. But I use it as a workout. Sometimes I have to work on the terminal. I'm going to the VIP lounge that we're gonna talk about how to get into those for free. The
Hmm.
Centurion lounges, all these VIP areas in the airport. But then when you have to go from there to your gate, sometimes it's 10 minutes. So if that day I could not work out, or I know it's gonna be late when I arrive to the next destination, I'm just using that like the two backpacks, which are like 8 kilos each, to just go through the airport like this, and I'm adding some grip strength. You need to just be creative. Sometimes I had workouts, quick workouts, body weight workouts like calisthenics in VIP lounges as well. That then I could take a shower there eat some food, and catch the plane. So yeah, you have to get creative to stay in shape while you're traveling.
Okay, we're definitely going to talk about getting in shape. Definitely going to talk about VIP lounges. I want to, probably the majority of the audience does know about you, but maybe you could give a bit of a background. So you're from Catalonia, right, in Spain?
Yeah,
Could you kind of give
right.
us a bit of a background?
Sure. So basically, a town that it's 1 hour north from Barcelona. It's in Costa Brava. It's one of my favorite places in Spain, actually, because of the coast. It's popular because it's very close to the Pyrenees. So if somebody likes skiing or winter sports or the feeling of the snow and the cabin, the chalet there, you have the Pyrenees, 2 hours. You have Andorra as well, very close. Then you
Hmm.
also have, of course, Costa Brava, which is 180 kilometers ish of coast, 150, 180. So you have plenty of these little calas, we call it. A cala,
Hmm.
it's a rocky, small beach, usually.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes there's sand, but it's usually shaped through the cliffs. So it's really scenic, I would say. It's aesthetic. It's good to shoot content, enjoy sunsets, sunrises. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
Cliff jumping as well. It's safe there. So I was born there. And from there, man, I started paying a lot of taxes by the time I finished university, and I started my first online business, which was not related to taxes, not related to law, not related to finances, nothing like that. And I started to make some decent money. That decent money in Spain means when you cross the $80,000 or 80,000 euro mark, they start taxing you like 47, 48, around 50%. So half of your money it's due in taxes. I found that unacceptable. It's something I thought about. Like, how can I scale this if I'm being taken away half of the money? It makes no sense. So I thought, instead of doubling the marketing efforts and sales efforts, which I knew what it entailed, it meant more risk, more uncertainty, more complexity, and a bigger team, which also you need to find the human capital, like the powerhouse behind a business. It's like, that's a lot of work. What if I did it the other way? Right? And I got creative. I was like, how do multimillionaires, how do billionaires keep their wealth? How they don't pay taxes? And I just went down this rabbit hole. It's like, is there a way on Google? Is there a way that was back in 2019? Is there a way I cannot pay taxes legally? And then words like tax heaven, appeared there. It's like, I like it. I like it. Tell me more, Google. Tell me more. What's a tax heaven? Where is a tax heaven? How can I go from Spain tax system to a tax heaven? How can I optimize taxes? And if I had to go back, I would not do this mistake again, which cost me a lot of time, which was going the free route of Google, 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 YouTube, YouTube, YouTube. The thing that was the tipping point here was getting a consultant that just boom, in 30-minute session, like he clarified all this puzzle. He made all the design of, okay, man, present these models in Spain, because it's not just living, it's having a fiscal exit there,
Hmm.
properly done. Then get into a bridge country. Don't go from Spain to a, let's say, a tax haven directly that it's blacklisted in Spain. Go to one rich country. In this case, was Cyprus. We can talk more about that. And Cyprus allowed me, to create this structure with a UK LTD that sent the dividends through my Cyprus personal level, where I became a resident. And voila, after spending 60 days, I was not just a resident, but a tax resident of this island in the Mediterranean. And fairly enough, boom, 48% in taxes saved in the next year. So I actually only paid taxes in Spain 1 year as autonomo, and the rest is history, man. When I started enjoying this life without taxes, I did not want to go back.
Why did you need Cyprus as a bridge country? Couldn't you have gone directly to Paraguay? Because that's kind of your current setup, right? And
Mhm.
Paraguay is not blacklisted by Spain.
Yeah, correct. At that time, I didn't know about Paraguay, and that's the other part. When you have a consultant, usually this consultant is biased as well by their preferences. The one that I hired had a strong base of case studies that was UK LTD with Cyprus residency, had all the context in there. So it's what he advised me. But yeah, had I known that Paraguay was an option, I would probably have done it. That's why I lasted in Cyprus 1 year, and after Cyprus, I went to Paraguay, because then during that year I discovered that. So, and Cyprus actually requires you to be there 60 days, so it subtracted a bit of my
Mm.
freedom, similarly to the Dubai setup that some people spend 90 days in Dubai, and then they have to keep doing it to keep the tax benefits. But the beauty of Paraguay or places like Panama is that they don't have this minimum required stay. They are much more flexible, or they don't enforce it. They just don't look at these things. While your accountant is having the tax declarations monthly, for example, in Paraguay, it's enough, and that's it. So you have these 2 extra months of freedom of I don't have to be in Cyprus, because actually, if you think about it, Cyprus or Dubai are seasonal places. You don't want to be in Cyprus during winter, do you? It's more of a place that you want to enjoy the Mediterranean summer, correct? In Dubai, what are you going to be doing in Dubai between March and October? Are you going to be there in July and August? Like, be honest, you won't. So you will just have this window of, let's say, November to February, where you have to spend 3 months. So you have kind of a requirement, or you have these laws of freedom, that to keep paying lower taxes, every year you have to be in Dubai between November and February, pretty
Yeah, it's too
much,
much. It's
because
too
the
much
rest of
time.
the year, yeah. So it's, what if I want to spend the New Year's Eve somewhere else? What if I want to be, 5 months in Mexico between November and February? Damn it, I will lose my tax benefits. Well, I will lose my Emirates ID if I don't go back to Dubai every 6 months, or the UAE, etc., etc. Right? So I really value now in the setups that I enjoy myself, or that I create for our clients, is freedom. That's something that they want: options, freedom, and the less restrictions, the better, usually.
And remind me, can Spanish people move directly to Andorra, or does that have penalties with it?
Yeah, no, good question. Actually, you can. Simply that Andorra now, because of all the YouTubers, that was the big wave of, let's say, tax optimizers. Let's call them, okay. The tax optimizers of Spain were YouTubers. A bunch of them, like millionaires, were floating to Andorra. Also, online business owners. For example, a very famous one is Euge Oller, went to Andorra and spent a lot of time there. It's a creator, he sells info products, etc. So many people followed him because they entered his courses, and from those courses he taught them, hey, come to Andorra, spend X amount of time, invest in this type of company, do this tax structure, and voila. It's not 0 0, it's not 0%, but still it's much better.
It's
And
like
because of
10%.
proximity, yeah, exactly. And most of them created this setup where easily they could enjoy 3 months of winter and ski, because they're top notch, by the way. Like, Pyrenees are top notch in Europe for skiing. It's one of the best mountains. So a lot of people from all around the world come there. So people who enjoyed that went to Andorra, or even, yeah, summers, people cycling, running, trail runners. So I know different people that enjoyed the outdoor adventure there in Andorra. But the only downside is this that we were discussing. You have a physical requirement of
Mhm.
6 months in Andorra to make it work. So that's why when now people are discovering more and more Paraguay, I see many more people from Spain that, even if Paraguay is so far compared to Andorra, they still choose Paraguay because of the freedom.
More freedom. I didn't know it was 6 months. I thought I saw something that was 3 or 4 months, but maybe it's different for Spaniards.
Yeah, I know that there's people doing personal tax optimization and then company optimization. I don't know a lot about Andorra because it's not a service that we have a lot of demand. So yeah, verify everything that I say, not just this about Andorra, but everything in general. There are some setups that I know for a fact because I'm using them, and I know to the T because I keep the updates, like the US credit cards or Paraguay setups, etc. Like, I know. For Andorra, I know that now they put a minimum as well, that you need to invest in a company to make it legal. Otherwise, it was too easy. And it was because of all the YouTubers that I was mentioning, that they went all in, and the Spanish tax system did not like that, and also had some, let's say, conversations with Andorra. I was like, okay, it's okay if people are floating out of Spain to Andorra, but just put some requirement here. Otherwise we're going to have some issues between the two countries. And Andorra didn't want an issue with Spain, so they increased the difficulty to become a tax resident legally in
Uh-huh.
Andorra. yeah, making it
Yeah,
even
yeah,
less
I heard
attractive and
about
more
that. It was like
attractive other
some of
places.
the biggest Spanish YouTubers, right? Guys
Yeah,
with like millions of subs,
yeah,
and they did that thing. And the reason I ask for the audience is because where I guess Miquel grew up is like maybe 1 hour from Andorra, so
yeah.
it probably
Hmm.
would have been
Close by.
the hometown thing. Random question: is Miquel with a Q? Is that the Catalan spelling, or how? Do, I've always been
You're
curious about this.
you're right. You're right. Miquel with Q, it's the Catalan. Miquel with K, Mikel, it's the Basque country version of it.
Aha.
And if it's with a G, it's all the Spanish, both in Spain and in all Latin America. So Miguel in Mexico, Miguel in Colombia, Miguel in Paraguay, Miguel everywhere. With K in Basque Country, with Q in Catalonia.
Okay, or Michel in France.
Yeah, yeah, or Mijail there in, you can have in many other languages, yeah.
And are you pretty good in French? I know your Portuguese is really good. You obviously speak
Uh,
good
eu
English,
falo.
Spanish,
Você
Catalan. Do
fala
you?
português? Você fala português também?
Yeah, yeah. I
A
mean,
little bit?
I listen to your I listen to your podcast with Seti in
Yeah,
Portuguese,
yeah,
and you recorded that maybe like a year ago, and I was
yeah.
like, wow, his Portuguese is really good. You know.
Yeah, because I've invested more than a year and a half in Brazil. We can talk a lot about Florianopolis. It's one of my bases around the world that I like to keep coming back. So yeah, I had the chance to learn fluent Portuguese. Then French, oui, j'ai parlé français aussi. It's not a language that I can be fluent because I did not use it that much. We learn in Catalonia. It's one of the languages you learn in school because of proximity. It's pretty frequent that you would learn a bit of French, and I can understand it like 80%, even though I've not spoken it. Italian as well. There was a time of my life that I was traveling often to Italy, so I learned some Italian, but it's the first one I lost because I didn't have those many hours learning Italian compared to French,
Hmm.
or in this case, English or Portuguese. So yeah, I could say that the same way that you hear me speaking fluently English, I could speak Portuguese, same level, and of course Catalan and Spanish, the same level.
And where have you spent the most time in Brazil? You had a pretty long stint in Floripa, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Floripa is one of my favorite places in Brazil. And I don't say that because of ignorance of the other places. I've spent time in, let's say, Curitiba. I spent time in, what else? Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo. Then I've also gone to the northeast of Brazil, like João Pessoa, Recife.
Did
So
you?
all of
I
the,
didn't.
yeah, 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 yeah. I've been there, yeah, man. Man, life there. Have you been?
And I haven't been to Nordeste, no.
Oh man, what's your take? Before I share what's my view of the Nordeste, what do you think when you think about Recife, João Pessoa? When you hear that, what comes to your
Y-
mind?
I mean, I've been hearing about it for years, so I think it's one of those hidden gem kind of things. Obviously, you got to be careful. I know you're on more the luxury end of things. Me, I like it a little edgy sometimes.
Hmm.
But you tell me.
Yeah. Oh man, then you're gonna love this because when I was there, I wanted to live the wild adventure. You see some of my current videos. Yeah, correct, on the luxurious end, and the restaurants and the hotels and everything, like the first class experience, because I really enjoy this, and I think it's something that uh, a lot of people can create a better life not by spending a lot more. That's something we're going to talk on later, how to create a first class experience just by being smart on how you allocate the money, not just like spending it mindlessly. But in the Northeast, it's interesting because I got really like more wild. So I just got the same shorts for multiple days. One of these linen shirts that are like Tulum style, very open, very
Yeah,
loose,
yeah.
and I was basically barefoot and shirtless every day for multiple days and drinking coconuts. I remember one of my favorite activities there was waking up, running in the Beira Mar. It's like the seaside walk, we could translate in English,
Uh huh.
and drinking coconuts from the stands. Like literally, I brought like 50 reais, like $10 each, $8 on my pocket in cash. And every time that I stopped or at the end of the training, I drank two or three coconuts. They opened it for me. They took out the flesh, and every coconut was $1, like five
Hmm.
reais, fresh, like literally. The woman, the lady there with the machete, bam, opening it. You drank the coconut, and you continue working, or you rest 20 minutes and then do the calisthenics training. So I remember this experience being, yeah, more wild. I also love trying the street food there in João Pessoa in Recife. I tried different stands, so that was fun. Another thing that it's really good, if you go there, ask for this cane, like sugar cane or cane sugar juice, like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that they press it, they put
They
the
got the
cane there.
machine like on the
Yeah,
beach.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's the press, and then the juice comes out, and it's so sweet and delicious. And they put some lime, and they put some ginger as well. They put everything through the machine. And this combination is my favorite: lime, the sugar, the juice, and ginger. Man, this is amazing. I can't get enough of this thing. I could drink it all day, every day. And
Okay, so
coconut water.
nutritionist Mikel, sugarcane juice still passes. It gets a
Yeah,
pass.
it still passes, especially if you are coming from a long run. You're having your sprints or your 12 kilometer, 15 kilometer run. That's approved. We have the stamping here. And actually, it's funny you mentioned the nutritionist, Michael, because I didn't say before, but that was my degree in university. Like I studied nutrition. So anything about food, elite performance for athletes, yeah, that was my jam for 5, 6 years of my life.
They even have those sugarcane machines in Asuncion on the Malecon there.
Hmm.
In downtown, they have the
Yeah,
sugarcane people.
yeah, 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 close to the river, right?
Yeah, yeah, right near the river, near the
Yeah,
boats.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess on the nutrition thing, fun fact, you went to Dubai and you trained at that same rooftop gym that Andrew Tate had trained at, right? With Dylan Madden. Tell us about that
you
experience.
you you do your research, man. You really do your research. I love it. You prepare the podcast for sure. Yeah, you're right. I was there where Andrew fought or did that sparring session. Let's say that's TK MMA. TK MMA. It's the name of the gym, and they have this cage, this MMA cage. They also have a boxing ring, and I would say it's one of the best equipped gyms in Dubai. It's also famous because of the person who founded it. If you enter the hall, it has all the pictures with all the UFC fighters you've seen on YouTube or live. You know, they've been training there or they've gone through there. They took the picture. It's all like a hall of fame kind of. And yeah, it's a really good place to go and train. We had a good time with Dylan.
That's awesome. And I guess related is I know you train I guess kickboxing, MMA, sparring, something like that. How do you do that? What's the tip for doing that when you travel so frequently and you don't have a subscription, right? So are you just like rocking up to these boxing gyms and say, "Hey, can I do a day pass?" or what's the trick there?
Hmm. Yeah, I would say the fact that I'm a runner, like that's my main sport. It's been for more than 12 years. Before that, I played basketball. Like I got to the Catalan selection, the Catalan team of basketball. Then I stopped that and I transitioned into running. So the good thing about this is you don't need equipment. You just need your pair of shoes or even barefoot, and you just go and run. That's it. So that makes it kind of a no excuse type of sport or workout. The other is calisthenics. I do a lot of them. I can just single leg squats, like pistol squats. You can do one arm push ups. You can do
Hmm.
things that,
Body
you could
weight.
say, oh, yeah, exactly, body weight, but just make it a bit difficult. Because I also see people that are just doing 10 push ups or 20, they get a bit of a pump and that's it. No, like really push it. Oh, but you can't push it if you don't have a gym. Okay, cool, no problem. Get on a handstand, put your feet on the wall, and try to do 10 handstand push ups. And then tell me that this is not pushing it. You know, you don't need the weights from the gym. You just need a bit of creativity. So I would say if I earned $1 for each workout that I've done at home in the living room or runs that I did without any equipment, man, a lot of money because that's what I do very, very often. Then the gym, I hit the gym whenever I can. But yeah, as you say, for example, I was telling you before starting to record that this month I've visited 6 countries and I've changed stays 12 times in 30 days, in the last 30 days. It means 12 check ins and check outs in Airbnbs or hotels. So, with this type of calendar, and this is not a typical one, just because we are shooting content and we are meeting partners, we like to meet in person every year and do the cycle of all the services we offer. But yeah, you have to stay really consistent. Something that helped me, you asked me for a tip. I would say the best tip I could give is your identity. What do you mean by that, Michael? I'm going to explain. You have to define yourself who you are. If you say, I'm somebody who trains, it's different to telling to yourself, I'm an athlete. That was the game changer for me. And I learned that from a national champion runner in Spain, somebody that I met while I was in my nutrition business and online courses, etc. He told me that's the trick, how I stay consistent. He said, I am not somebody who trains, I'm an athlete. And when I installed that thing in my brain, that's probably one of the best tips I ever got in the last 10 years. When you identify yourself as an athlete, it's weird the day that you don't train. Even the day that you only train once, it's
Yeah.
like, what's going on? What's missing? Because my
Yeah.
default is training twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. Usually in the morning, it's just to warm up a little bit the body. It's like, could be an easy jog for 30, 40 minutes, 4:30, 4:45, 5 minutes per kilometer, depending on everybody's rhythm. That's going to be, adjusted to them. It's just something chill, something that gives me 140 beats per minute heart rate, easy, chill. I don't want to push anything. In the afternoon is when I push it, like I really push it. Sprints, stairs. That's another type of training that I do a lot, or sprints on an uphill. That pushes your body a lot and reduces the amount of impact that your knees and ankles receive while running. So you can really, really get into high speeds and high demand for your muscles and tendons, but without getting injured.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would say that changing your identity is what helps somebody be like, boom. The same way that you are producing, for example, this podcast, right? If you are somebody who casually records podcasts, you would maybe not have the same consistency. What do you identify with? What helped you stay consistent with the podcast after 240 episodes?
Yeah, I guess you're saying identify as a podcaster. I'm not sure I do, but consistency is the thing. Like in the gym, 90% is just showing up, right?
Yeah.
If you just show up, do something,
Hmm.
that's the way to do it. Okay, before we move on, I got to hear about basketball, Mikel, because I had no idea you had a
Yeah.
basketball arc. Are you still shoot the ball a bit? Tell me about how far you got.
Yeah, I can still have, I can still shoot. The last times I took a ball, I remember playing a lot of basketball in Oaxaca, in Mexico, Oaxaca City, and there was a gang there of basketball players, and I joined them one day in a public, setup,
Hmm.
and they were like, "Oh man, you have some move. You should come tomorrow." And then tomorrow became another tomorrow, and for more than a month that I was in Oaxaca, I think it was 2 months and a half, 3 months almost. I played a few games there. So it was my first sport actually. When I was 4 years old, my parents got me into basketball. When I was four, I already have pictures from me like playing around with the ball. And yeah, by the time I was 15, 16, I made it to first to the province team and then to the Catalan team.
That's a pretty big deal, right? Because Spain, maybe people don't know this, but Spain is like super serious about basketball.
Yeah, it is. And actually, the Catalan team is one of the most, I would say, demanding ones. Like you have to have a really good level. It's not the same the Catalan level of basketball or Madrid, right? Big cities, big capitals, compared to let's say one little corner of Andalusia, in Huelva or one place like that. They're not as top in basketball. But yeah, the Girona or Football Club Barcelona, the basketball team of Barcelona, it's pretty big. In Madrid as well, you have to be good to be there.
You
But
would have
yeah,
had to be super serious then to make
yeah, oh,
the
I was.
selection. As
Bro, I'm so obsessed with things. I think that that's something that defines me. I'm obsessed. I just obsess with whatever I want to achieve. I'm just tunnel vision. And yeah, I could only think about dribbling and playing. I was investing so many hours per day playing basketball. Yeah.
So, who's your favorite best basketball player all time?
Ha. That's a good question. I think I would go with Michael Jordan because of his personality and his charisma. I would say that also as I grew older, I didn't see it at that time, Kobe, but when I analyzed the mindset of these players, there are some good ones that like to party or like to, work hard, play hard. But when I see these ones that are obsessed, that's the ones that resonate with me. So when I hear Michael talking, when I hear Kobe talking in the episodes they shot, it's like these are my people. These are the ones that when I was training, even though I did not follow as much or remember, like let's say 20 years ago, the amount of footage you had available without
Hmm.
YouTube or internet being so mainstream, you could not observe these things. But now, as an adult, that we have all of these clips from these players on interviews on podcasts, I'm like, huh, yeah, that's what I was feeling. That's the type of mindset that I had back then. So yeah, I could say these two. I'm not a fan of watching sports. Just for the record,
I
I'm
had a
one that
feeling.
it's obsessed with playing. But I can't sit, man. Like literally, if you tell me to sit and watch a basketball game, I've probably watched three or four in my lifetime, live, like there sitting on the stadium. That's
You
it.
know,
The
you know
TV,
who's a
I
legend?
don't watch it. Tell me, who's a
You know who's
legend?
a legend is Mark Gasol. You know
Oh,
Mark
Marc
Gasol?
Gasol. Yeah,
Marc
yeah.
Gasol. Mark
Marc
Gasol.
Gasol, Marc Gasol. Yeah, Pau
He's
Gasol,
from your
Marc
area,
Gasol.
dude. He didn't he
I
play for
know.
Girona?
Yes, correct. That's right. Actually, Marc, it's been an idol. It's been an icon there for so many years. And yeah, for example, I've watched him play live. That's one of these four games that I tell you in my lifetime. One was Marc Gasol. Yeah, was there.
Yeah, he played for the Raptors. Yeah. So
Went to the
I saw.
NBA. Well, of course,
Yeah,
and Pau with the Lakers. Amazing, amazing career.
Gasol brothers or Gasol
Yeah.
brothers.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to some juicy stuff. People probably want to hear some secret intel. Give people some tips. Um, where should we start? I mean, for some context, you're at almost 5 years of consistent solo travel.
Yeah, correct. November 2019 was when I started like seriously nonstop. Yep.
And we've talked about how you've made some iterations and changes to your setup. You had the Cyprus UK. Now you're, I think, Paraguay
Paraguay
US LLC.
LLC. You're right.
Hmm. And you've been picking up residencies along the way. You've talked about how you've done Armenia.
Yep.
Maybe walk us through the list of which ones you got.
Yeah, I will disclose a few. There's a few that I like to keep more private, similar to the passports. The question always, can you can imagine, right? How many passports do you have? Like, well, I will tell you I have the Spanish one, but yeah, I like to keep it more private because I don't see any I would say benefit of sharing it online. Like there are some things that, for example, yeah, I have a USLC and a Paraguayan residency, but that's just like the tip of the iceberg that I want to share publicly. I'm willing to share, and I'm happy sharing. But yeah, there's of course a lot of more structures that I never share, and I don't think I have any interest in sharing. It's more like my private life of asset protection and tax optimization, right? But that's something that if somebody comes on a in-person meetup, usually I open up a bit more and I share these things. Or after years of knowing somebody, I would say that one of the other residencies I'm happy to share about is well Cyprus, as I discussed, then Spain because of course I have ties there, even though I'm not a tax resident. Then Armenia, I would like to go deeper on that one because I think it's an opportunity that not many, you would say, YouTubers or people in this industry are talking about. I think it's completely underrated because you can go straight to permanent residency, similarly to how Paraguay used to be before, around September 2022, and then they made the change of the law. And similarly to Paraguay before, after 3 years of permanent residency directly, now in Paraguay you need the 2 years of temporary, but after three of permanent, you can apply for citizenship. That's interesting. Something that allows me to get a document I can pass on to new generations. Something cool about Armenia is that not only the generations down, like your kids, grandkids, can get it, but actually next to you, so your spouse, in case you're married legally, and then your parents can also become Armenian. So one day you naturalize, you become a citizen, and then you tell your parents, hey, do you know that with a quick visit to an embassy, not even Armenia as a country, my parents could go to, let's say, Madrid and do a quick test and become Armenian. I was like, that's interesting. Let's pursue this path. So now I was approved. Actually, my case was on IMI Daily as well, saying, "Is it true?" They did an investigation. That was pretty funny. They put, "We are investigating if these claims that Miquel Girones from First Class Citizen said that he can get Armenian permanent residency even abroad, completely without visiting the country, which we
Mhm.
accomplish for clients." Then a couple days later, IMI is like, confirmed. What Mikel said was true. You can get Armenian permanent residency, blah blah blah, and everything that I put on my previous thread. So yeah, that's a really interesting one that I would like for people to know more about.
And how permanent is the permanent residency? Because I believe, it renews every couple of years, and you have to show that you've maintained the investment or something like that. Or how does that work?
Yes, I think mine was granted for. I will tell you now. I'm actually searching it here in real time, and I will give you the accurate answer because I have it here. But the good thing is that you can renew it. And the thing is, if you, I think it's 5 years, but I will tell you now because I have here the folders with all my documents. Man, it's a full time job organizing all the documents. I had to upgrade to holders and carry things because the small process did not work. As I can see here, yeah, it's
Oh.
5 years, and then you can renew it. But the thing is, if by year three you naturalize, then you are a citizen. You will not have to renew the permanent residency because basically being a
Mhm.
citizen, you have that and more, right? Which is the ability to also travel to all the other countries that are visa free with that passport.
Because I've talked to people about this Armenia one. And it's kind of funny because you have to make, I think it's a 5 or 6K investment
Hmm.
slash donation as part of the process. And they go, oh, yeah, like we'll hook you up with like a bee farm or a pig farm or something like that. And then they're like, yeah, when the renewal comes 5 years later, that investment needs to be still active, but the
Hmm.
business is probably going to fail. So we'll find you a
Hmm.
new pig farm to invest in or something.
Let's see. But even if I lost the money, I would still do it, man. I
Yeah,
would
it's
still
not
do
that
it.
much. It's not that much.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm gonna lose 6K, maybe, probably. Let's say, I don't know. But even if I lost it, I would do it just for the chance of being able to apply for citizenship in 3 years. It's completely worth it. Yeah,
Hmm. And then the other downside that people often talk about is the military service thing.
yeah.
And then the counter argument to that is, well, actually, you can pay to get out of that military service as a citizen, and it's a couple $1,000. And then I think I saw something that they actually raised the dollar amount that it costs to buy out of conscription. But maybe you could tell us
Mhm.
more about that.
Yeah, I have to search the last amount, or I would need to ask. So that's probably something that I take note of these, and I will just call them when it's Monday, and then know the answer and publish a video, maybe updated version of if there's any change on the Armenia process. But as far as I know, yeah, it's between 5 to 6K, something like that. If you say 2K, then yeah, they raised it because the last number that I have is close to 5 to 6K equivalent in dollars because you pay it in drams, which is the local currency. And yeah, you can just waive it. But again, like 5 6K to get a citizenship and waive the military, like man, not going to the military, it's worth much more than 5 or 6K in my opinion. So happy to do
Yeah.
it, no problem. Yeah, for sure.
And since we're talking about the stack, I actually have it here. You won't see it on video, but because I was just traveling yesterday, I gotta show you this. So this is my stack of documents, dude. Because I just brought everything home to Canada.
Oh man.
This I have a folder for every country. This is just me.
Oh my
This is
god.
just me. There's like a Panama folder, a Mexico folder,
If
Paraguay folder.
if people could watch the video version of what you're showing, if you I'm gonna describe it for everybody in the audio experience. This is like half of the head. This is probably like 6 fingers or 7 fingers of, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 fingers. It's like 10 centimeters of paperwork. It's crazy. You have how many folders in here? 30?
Well, dude, I
30?
mean, if I think you say you have 8 residencies. I mean, that's eight
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
folders minimum, right? So,
Yeah, correct, correct. And actually, the credit card and debit card stack, it's like more than 50. So now it's like a proper thing. Now you have it
shit.
on a pocket here next to your chest.
Uh
That
huh.
that holds a bullet. That saves your life.
I think I might have to ask you some tips on that too, because I have so many debit and credit cards. You have more than me, or they're more uh, internationally, but
Yeah,
I have so many. I don't even want to travel with them all. I'm like, do I just cut them up and like put them all on my Google Pay wallet thing and not even travel with the physical ones? Because it
yeah,
might seem small, like a credit card, but when you have
so many.
50 of them,
Yeah,
it's like it actually becomes a lot to travel with. What
yeah,
tips can you give us there?
yeah. It's like a small dictionary, you know. It's like a small thick book. Yeah. So that's one option. To be honest with you, many of these I do it to test it because I want to be able to provide the clients the insider information. Right. I want to tell them, look, this is what it takes to actually get it in your hands if you want to pursue this path. But then that I actually use 4 or 5 per
Yeah.
month. That's it. And that's how I optimize it. One for ads, mainly US credit cards because they have the best point system in the world
Hmm.
right now. So one would be for ads, one would be for restaurants, hotels, and transportation. So anything like taxis, trains, planes, etc. Another one would be for everything else. And then I have 2 debit cards that are very useful for ATM withdrawals. So yeah, I would say 5 it's plenty of the close to more than 40. I don't know if it gets to 50 one day I need to count. But yeah, I have 12 local currencies, so it means that I have banks in more than 12 countries. That's for sure. Yeah.
Hmm. And because it's not just the cards, because obviously the driver's licenses too. Hopefully you
Oh
got
yeah.
multiple driver's licenses.
Yeah, as
Hopefully you got
well.
your Paraguay license and all that. And
Yeah, yeah, of
it's just,
course. Moto
it
car.
adds up, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right, man. And then, for example, in Paraguay, they give you the cédula, then they give you the national police thing, then la
Right.
residencia permanente. So it's like you get something, the residency, and then boom, it comes with the full
Yeah,
stack.
I
Yeah.
mean, I probably have like 8, 9 Paraguay things, right? Because I think I
Yeah.
got like three bank accounts in Paraguay,
Hmm.
two driver's licenses, the driver and the motorcycle, and then the police card, and then the cedula. So that's already 8 or 9 right there. And I think there's one or two more.
Hmm.
So it adds
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, it adds up, man. It does. And it's funny because when you start, it's difficult to stop. This next year, do you think I need more? Of course not. Of course not. But I'm planning to go into Thailand. I'll be like, why not getting the Thai driving license as well, moto and car? Because why not? You know? It's these things that you keep collecting and you'd rather have and not need than need and not have. And that's probably one of the mottos that all of our clients also share. They're like, yeah, just let me collect options and that's it. Then I will see if I need it or not, but just in case. Because many of these things are just $200, 300, two
Mhm.
thousand, 3,000, 6,000. So it's something that you can afford, you can have many, and then see what you do with it.
Tell me this. So, because you talk about how you have 20 bank accounts in 10 different countries, something like that. The most annoying part for me is just keeping them active, the ones that are used less. And because like a US bank, they're pretty chill. Like I think one transaction per year will keep most US checking accounts open.
Hmm.
But a lot of the other like Latin American countries, it's like if you don't do a transaction for 30 days or 60 or 90 days, they deactivate it. And it's super annoying to reactivate from outside the country. So how do you deal with tracking keeping your accounts and cards active?
Sure, I'll share in a second. Just before, what experience did you have? Do you recall some of them? Some bank that closed your account?
Yeah, well, it's not just a closing. It's more they'll closing is one thing with like, if the transactions look suspicious or whatever,
Okay.
but deactivating because of lack of use.
Mm,
And so it's just annoying to have to like log into all these things. And in the US, logging in is a relatively seamless experience, but with some of these Latin American accounts, just logging in, you're laughing. Just logging in is
because
annoying,
I
dude,
know.
because maybe you have to
We
use like
both
a
know. We
local
both know.
phone number. Like you,
Yeah.
maybe it'll be like you have to use a Paraguay phone number, but I'm not in Paraguay, and they want to send me a text to my Paraguay one, so I got to put that SIM in, and then like receive the text in Mexico, and then there's like a two-factor app thing as well. Like the whole thing is annoying.
From everybody listening, he's telling you the true story. This is facts. Like this is so true. Yeah, basically it's something you just need to set reminders. For example, as you say, if I have multiple bank accounts once every 6 months, I can just put a reminder to cycle the money. So I can take the same $1,000, $100, doesn't matter the amount, just cycle it. So I just need to put, let's say, in numbers, easy. Account one sends money to account two. So I only need to put account two in the first bank because that's where the money is going to flow. Then bank three gets introduced in bank two. So that's where it flows. So then every 6 months, I just need one bank account that cycles everything around. And I just have to be diligent or program one of these transfers in the dates. It's something that you'll have to spend some time in the setup. But many of these banks, I mean, unless very specific ones in Latin America, but for example, in Panama, you can schedule transfers. In the US, of course, easily do it. In Europe, you can do it. So there's many banks now that with the apps you can schedule the transfer. You just make sure you add some buffer there because of the days it might take or some delay, or if something happened that the account was paused, then you need to unpause it and then make sure that the money can flow through. But if you just put transfers every 3 days consecutively, they're just gonna keep cycling alone. Like you don't have to do anything. You just automate it once, you're good.
And what do you do for phone numbers? Do you use
Hmm.
like a US phone number primarily because
Yeah.
they're pretty good about receiving text messages for all these two-factor authentications all around
I,
the world, or what do you do?
I laugh, man, because you know your thing. You know, when you hear somebody asking these questions, it's because you know what you're talking about. Like you're going to the weak spot of many setups. The phone numbers. I have 10 SIMs at this point. Like my phone, when you open the cellular tab on the iPhone, just like goes incredible from all the places I have to keep track. And I found out that some numbers I can keep even without paying. For example, the Paraguay number, I don't have to pay the monthly subscription, but I can still receive SMS if it's been more than X months that I'm not paying. I can still receive SMS. I cannot do calls, receive calls, or have data, but SMS still work. So I realized that some banks can still send me the 2FA just by having the number still on my iPhone. So that's useful. For the 2FA, I usually use the US numbers because they have the best apps for eSIMs. So
Mm.
one that I can share here is Hushed, HUSHEV, Hushed app. That's for 2FA for phone numbers, US phone numbers. So you can receive from the banks. All my American banks are tied to that app. And also, I can make phone calls from anywhere in the world to US numbers. So anytime I need to call reconsideration lines or unlock one of my cards because one of these transactions, sometimes they get a bit too paranoid. You might know that as well. Depending on you're taking an Uber for $1 or $2 in Paraguay, and it's like, hey, we blocked your account just because we were unsure that this $2 was you. You know, we're just protecting you, okay? But then you have to spend 20 minutes on the phone to unlock your card because you
Mhm.
used it for Uber in Paraguay or in Mexico, or they see the IP. But everything is super easy with this app, for example. You can call the banks, it's seamless. So that's one that it's useful. I never had an issue. I'm a happy customer for over a year and a half, or more than 2 years now, actually, that I opened my first account. So that one works. Some people use Google Fi. And then there's other data things like Idolo or Rombless or new companies that are appearing. I can't keep track of all of them. But yeah, I see our clients in our group that are sharing all of these tips all the time. Very generous. I really like the dynamics because everybody's very generous with information. So they also receive a lot of free intel. And yeah, I'm learning all of these things every day.
Okay, so Hushed. I've heard people recommend it before. I haven't looked into it too much though. It helps you manage multiple eSIMs. Is that the
You
idea?
can correct. You can do that as well. You can have a corporate number. For example, your company, if they want to call you or you need your team to call somebody and you
Hmm.
want to do it through a corporate phone, kind of, they can log in through their computer. So they can have it also in their phone or their computer and have calls from there. That's pretty useful. Another one recently, it would be Linphone. I had a guy, a tech guy. He's one of these geniuses on telecommunications, and he said some IP thing with a password. I don't know what. He showed me in a Zoom call, and boom, in 5 minutes now I can call any international number for like a few cents per minute, like literally 5, 8, 10 cents per minute. Any phone number, I just need Wi-Fi connection, and it connects with the normal line, the cellular line, and voila, I can be anywhere and I can call all numbers in the world. That's pretty cool. Otherwise, you have to go through, let's say, Virgin carrier in the UAE. They also have, but it's much more expensive. They allow you as well 140 countries, but it's more limited than, for example, Linphone with this kind of backend solution that this man created, very bespoke for what I needed.
Let's move on to credit cards. I know you have a lot to say on that.
Mhm.
Um, what's kind of the typical scenario you see with your clients and how you kind of you help them? So it sounds like maybe they're doing their spending with non-US cards, and then you help them open an ITIN and move over to US cards to maximize their spending. I'm just guessing here, but you tell me.
Sure. Maybe Canada would be the second country, the best country for credit cards. So the gap is not so obvious. But if you're from any country in Europe or even like Asia, well, Asia actually, Singapore might have good cards, Hong Kong, but many other countries, it's just debit or transfers, right? So basically, everything that they are spending, they get nothing in return. While in the US, you spend money in different categories and they give you 3 points per dollar, 4 points per dollar. Even there are some cards that give you 31 points per dollar. The maximum I've ever seen is 46. That's a Hilton branded card of Amex. It's Amex Hilton Spire card. It gives you a shit ton of points with Hilton properties when you spend there. So the idea is that why, if you already have expenses, that you're going to use or you're going to have, why don't you use these cards? So instead of one plastic, use another metal or another plastic, and voila, at the end of the month you check your app and you can now take 2 flights for free. So next time you're flying from Canada to Paraguay or back, this round trip, this one and then two, you do it in business class, paying cheaper than economy. If economy is $800, you could get that trip for $200. But you have a lay flatbed, you have chef cooked food on the sky, you have priority boarding, you can carry much more luggage included. And you don't even need to negotiate with yourself and start having that conversation, that bargain of, oh, should I spend this money in these? Or what if I spend it in ads? What if I put it in crypto? What if I invest in real estate? Do I really need this comfort in the plane? You just don't think it. You just book because it's almost free. So it saves a lot of time, save a lot of self negotiation, and eventually, it's something that you would spend nonetheless with this card. So why not? It's kind of a free money glitch.
You know, I'll tell you something funny I haven't really shared before. When I first moved from Canada to the US, um, I quickly realized that, well, I had no credit history in the US. And so I couldn't get the cards that I wanted. So when I walked
Mhm.
into the Chase and the Wells Fargo, they said, you're going to have to start with a cash secured credit card. And I'm sure you must know what this is. I didn't know what this was 5, 10 years ago. And they said, yeah, yeah, I think you gotta like put up $500 or something, and then it's basically a debit card, but it's a credit card, and it's gonna allow you to build a bit of credit history. And so I had to. It was like a humiliation ritual, honestly. And so I had to use this cash secured credit card for the first 3 to 6 months, and then they let me upgrade to the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which is like the
Mhm.
mid-level one, like the $99 a year one, which still isn't that great because it doesn't have VIP lounge access. And then after maybe 6 months on the Preferred, they they finally let me upgrade to the Chase Sapphire Reserve. So I thought when I moved to the US, I'd immediately be able to get the good credit cards with the VIP lounges, but it actually was like a whole year, multiple step process to work up to that.
Yeah, when you said humiliation, you made me think of when you get these shitty limits, and the first card can be $200 or 500, and maybe you want to start using it so you can rack up more points and credit score and all that stuff. And I remember having to pay team members or contractors, let's say somebody that puts ads for my company, and the bill is, let's say, 3K, right? And I'm asking, can you please cut it into six of 4.99 and one of like $6, so I can just use it more. But yeah, it's kind of a humiliation process. It's a bit painful in the beginning until they give you bigger credit limits, and then you can just use it without problem. But yeah, until you get the right credit score, let's say you want a $600 flight, you're like, damn it, I can use this car yet because I still just have 500 cash secured, like you mentioned. So yeah, it takes time, but the question is, either way, in 5 years, let's knock on wood, you're gonna be alive. What do you want to be? Alive and with the credit built and 750, 800 credit score and balling with all of these cards and getting free flights and all of that? Or you want to never start and you're still gonna be 5 years older, but you're still gonna be paying things with credit, with debit or transfers and not getting any perk for it. So it's kind of this white belt mentality. Maybe when you enter into a new sport, right? You can be really good at basketball or really good at jujitsu, but then you get into karate or you get into boxing, and boom, you are again beginner level, and everybody can hit you until then you become better. So it's one of these things that when you can leave your ego aside, and maybe you're a successful business owner, you're making X amount per month, everybody recognizes you in your industry, just like embracing the pain of being a beginner again, being a non-US citizen like you are, and you had to go to the US for the first time and say, hey, I'm here to build my credit score from scratch, 400, 450, 500, etc. Until then, you can get all of these top cards. Which ones are your favorite right now in your stack?
Well, here's the funny thing, I am a US citizen. I'm a Canadian American dual citizen.
Oh,
So I
got
thought
it.
that's part of why I thought I'd be, like, entitled to not have to start training wheels,
Oh,
but because I had never lived, in the US full
gotcha.
time, you know what I mean? So and just to make it actionable for people, I mean, what is kind of
Mhm.
the path? Because you've alluded to in videos how you can help people get the better cards faster, and you have
Yeah,
some tips and tricks. Could you kind
yeah.
of walk us through that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, how do I save time to people that want to get into this US credit card journey? Because when I started studying this, I heard some people taking 18 months to start getting these top tier cards, or 18 months to get to 720, 750 credit score, which is something that I got to 720 in 5 months and a half. And I'm still not the fastest. Now, people who are learning from what I learned, they are doing it in 4 months. So, how do we save time? The first step is, because you need an ITIN, maybe you have a social. You have social security
Yeah, yeah,
number.
I have social.
Yeah. Somebody who is not a green card holder, is not a resident, or is not a citizen of the US, the equivalent to the social security number, it's the ITIN, right? It's the digits that will allow you to open a bank account in the US and attach a credit profile to, to your ID, to your person, right? To your
Mhm.
personal name. The first step is that one. There are companies that just do a regular application for the ITIN, and it takes 5, 6 months to arrive. We use an acceptance agent, which gets us our ITINs for myself, for example, and then for our clients. The average is 42 days. And our
Wow.
fastest ITIN has been 33. I don't know what happened. And the IRS, like some luck, some genie in there, but in 33 days, our team delivered an ITIN for a client. But let's say on average it's 42, right? That's very average. 40, 45, that's very common. So that already shortcuts 4 months when you can go to the US and start opening the bank accounts, right? Then you open the bank accounts, and some people took flights there without the proper preparation, and they arrive without the right proof of address, without the utility bill, without the the right documentation, or knowing how to answer properly the questions that the banker asks, because it's not a numerical interview, it's more like a relationship interview. They will not
Mhm.
ask you for proof of things, but they will ask you some questions to see what's your risk profile, if you're going to be a good client for the bank or not, if there's something shady in there. So if you answer the questions wrongly, you're losing time there, because maybe you're not getting approved and then you need to go to another branch or another branch. I've known people that come to our program that before coming, they've been burned out because they didn't do it properly. They did it do it yourself version, without proper studying of how it works. And they took a trip thinking, oh, it's going to be 4 days, let's say in Miami. And they have to leave with, instead of four personal bank accounts like our clients get, they live with just one, and the other three they got denied. There's like, damn it. And then they have to come back a few months later, take another trip, sometimes coming from Europe, to do it again. So I would say before you go to the United States, just know exactly what you need to have the folders ready, have everything on your phone available, so in a couple of clicks, all the questions they ask, you know how to answer them. And when you have all this set up, you can in 3 days open four personal bank accounts, two business bank accounts, and then three credit cards. That's the base package, let's say, that we can guarantee somebody. So it's like six accounts and three credit cards right off the bat in 3 days, 3 business days in Miami, in this case, where we have our relationship managers.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Bit Refill. Bit Refill is the best way to spend your crypto in Latin America. Purchase gift cards or mobile refills from more than 3,500 brands in 186 countries instantly, safely, and privately. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. If you are a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Holtze, the author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond $20K a month. So what is job stacking? It's this idea of working multiple remote jobs. You might have heard Rolf, he's worked 5, 7, even 9 remote jobs at the same time before. And by the way, job stacking works equally well for non-technical roles. So no, it's not just for the nerds. So if you're ready to job stack, then book a discovery call with Job Stacking and see how they can double your income in just 9 weeks. In the show notes in the description, there will be a link where you can book a call directly on the Calendly of Job Stacking and be talking with them as early as tomorrow about how to double your income as quickly as possible.
So then when they have these three credit cards, it's going to be low limits. Still, for example, we had a client, literally I was in Miami a few days ago. 5 clients flew from different parts of the world because they knew that this program worked. And they knew that if I was there with them, higher success chances. And voila, one of them, fresh new ITIN, fresh new Chase account. And we used a different strategy. Like previous clients, I wanted to try something new. I thought it would work better. And the difference was crazy. Before, usually people got $500, $1,000 limit. This client got 4,000 right away, like 4 to 8 times higher credit limit right off the bat with Chase. So all the time we are innovating strategies, but basically what I want to save people is time. Because money, you can make money again, but time and this convenience of getting everything done in 3 days, that's what's the best. And that's just for the opening. And then there are other strategies on how to get the credit score from the 300, 350, 400 that you start with to 720, 750, which is the credit score that the issuers of these cards, American Express, Capital One, Bank of America, Chase, want to see to give you their elite cards. We're talking about the
Mhm.
Venture X in Capital One. We're talking the Chase Fire Reserve, as you were explaining in your story. It's the top card in Chase, or the American Express Platinum, or the American Express Business Gold, which give you 4 points per dollar in ads. So to access these top cards, even if it's business side, they will always look at the personal side of who is running the business, right? The ultimate beneficiary of that
Mhm.
business. And if it's somebody with poor credit score, why would a bank give business credit to somebody who personally is terrible managing credit? They will not. The higher your personal credit score, the higher the chances that both personal and business credit limits and loans and funding and these 0% APR cards, they give you the money and you only have to repay 12 months later. The higher your personal credit score, the more doors you can unlock afterwards.
Mhm. So, how can people increase their credit score fast?
Sure. So the first thing is always paying on time. That's a very obvious one, but it's very easy to forget that the closing date is the 18th, and then boom, it's 25th, and damn it, I didn't pay. So that's gonna take a temporary hit. The most important is not to miss the payment of the card more than 30 days. So if it closed today, if you wait 31 days or let's say 33 days, that's gonna stick in your credit profile for a long time. So you don't want to miss payments, especially don't miss it more than 33 days, 32 days. That's one. The second one is use credit builders. There are some services that create loans. I'm doing quote unquote
Mm.
loans that report to a credit score. But basically, what you're doing is you're putting the money in a savings account of your own. So each month you are paying the loan, which can be $300, 300, 300, 300. After 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you can choose that when you're enrolling in that service. They give you the money back minus the interest, or you have to pay a bit more of interest because they are providing a service for a profit, right? But basically, they create a loan, quote unquote, that looks like a loan to the bank. And it's like, oh, there's a company that gave this gentleman $50,000. And then it looks amazing on your credit profile. So then when you're requesting a credit line increase for your Chase card, your Capital One card, your Amex card, they look at it as like, oh, if somebody gave him 50,000, okay, let's, and he asked for 30, let's do it. It's lower risk. So that's another thing you can do. There are plenty of credit builders for US citizens with social. Just, I would say, at 10% in my experience work with IT. I've only found one that really works well, and then there's another one that kind of, but it depends. Another difficult thing is getting the credit report. So if you want TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, which are the three bureaus,
Mhm.
getting that report, it's difficult for IT users. For social, you enter an app. You probably have an app that shows everything in once, and boom, you can watch it
Yeah,
in real time
it's like
almost,
integrated into the online
right?
banking.
It's so
Uh-huh.
easy for you, so seamless. When you don't have a social, it's much more complicated
Huh? I
because
didn't know.
banks do not allow you to enroll into these credit
Monitoring.
programs. Yeah, monitors. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
That allow you to see that in real time. So you need to call the bureaus, you need to send physical letters to them, and then they will send you back a physical letter with your report and your credit score. Unless, for example, you have Bank of America, which is a good hack I'm going to share here, that gives you TransUnion once a month. So every, let's say, 4 or 5 days after your close date, the statement of your credit card, they're going to give you your updated TransUnion report of just the credit score, not the full report. If you want the full report, you need to mail, like post mail TransUnion in this case.
Hmm.
So after you using the cards on time, you can also use authorized users. I'm not a huge fan of these. What does an authorized user mean? That if, let's say, you have 800 credit score and you put me as an authorized user of your credit card, even though you will never send me the card, I will not be able to use it just because you, in theory, authorize me to access your credit limit. That gives information to the bank that my credit score can also increase because the FICO score is defined by 5 different areas. We're not going to go through in detail. They can just go to the channel First Class Investor, which is the sister company of First Class Citizen. In First Class Investor, we talk everything about credit, how to get these $6,000 flights for $200, on and on. It's everything documented in there, so they can see exactly where I'm looking at the screen, where I'm clicking, and boom, voila, the flight just getting 95% off in real time. But basically, the FICO score, if you have higher credit limits, lower utilization, more age, for example, if you have
Mhm.
a 10-year credit card instead of a 1-year credit card, you're going to have a better FICO score, etc., right? Number of revolving accounts. So by becoming an authorized user to somebody's primary credit card, your FICO score, your credit score improves. So that's another hack that they can shortcut months of building just by getting these little hacks in place.
And the credit limit increases. So
Yeah.
obviously, if you're starting at 1,000, or it sounds like 4,000 is good, quote unquote, which is still very low. How
Mhm.
do you get it from 1K or even 4K up to 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K?
Yeah.
That's going to require multiple requests over
Mhm.
months and years. What does that kind of path look like to increasing the credit limit?
Sure. Many of our top clients, and when I mean top, it's like the ones who are the go-getters, the ones who really wanted to hack this game and even surpass me first, like they achieved things before me, even though they started later, but I just like paved the path and then just they went bulldozer mode. They achieved 100,000, 150,000 in credit limits. So they went from, yeah, and they started at 1,000. And I know because I was the one on the calls with them, watching the reports and everything. And they just went ballistic. And they did that. The way we do it is we always call the banks and we use a lot reconsideration lines. So here's how it works.
Reconsideration lines.
Yeah. This is
I've never heard of
a
this. I'm
secret
Googling.
line. This is a secret
Okay.
number that every bank has. Capital One, Bank of America, Chase. They have reconsideration lines. That's the secret number that you call and they can
Mm,
better limit. But
mm.
that's little known. And it works two ways, and that's super interesting because if you get denied, let's say you have 4,000 and you want to ask for 10,000, and they deny you by the algorithm because you asked for it through the app or calling the normal line, you can call reconsideration and tell them, give them reasons, because again, it's a human. It's just interview. It's not numbers. You don't need to present a tax return. They will never ask you for that. Just about human psychology. You give them reasons why they should approve you for this higher limit. Here's well the script. It's test, trial and error. But reconsideration is another human that assesses your risk profile. You are for the bank, how risky it is to give you this extra trade line increase that you're requesting, and they say yes or no. Most of the times, they say yes. It's incredible the success rate of the reconsideration line. That's one of our hacks. But there's an even better one. Reconsideration can be called when they approve you for your initial credit line increase request. So let's say you go from 4,000 to 10, or from 10, 25, and they approved you on the spot for 25. You hang up the call. It's the hookah, HUCA, hang up and call again. So you hang up,
Okay.
then you call again, not the other hookah. Okay, focused. We are talking about credit line here. It's hang up and call again. You call reconsideration and you say, "Hey, I know you just approved me for this credit limit. Thank you so much. However, I think I deserve more." And then you run the other script. Blah 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 blah. More reasons of why they should give you a higher limit. Instead of 25, I want 35. And 8, 9 times out of 10, it's incredible reconsideration line how well it works for both the scenarios. Once you got an increase, could be substantial, like 40, 50, 60%. You call reconsideration and they give you even more. So you double down in your wins.
Mm.
And that helps you go much, much faster from this initial 500, 1,000, 2,000 into the 70, 80, 150 in credit limit between all the lines.
Wow, I didn't know about this.
Mhm.
And when you do the initial request, I know there's like a thing where you can wait for them to offer you more credit, or you can initiate the process yourself. But I feel like you sort of get dinged if you go out and initiate the process versus waiting for them to offer you credit. What's your philosophy there?
You just go for it, man.
Okay.
You boldly go for it. They even say wait 3 to 4 months before you request another credit line increase. Even the banker will tell you wait 6 months. It's bullshit. They don't even know how their own algorithm works because when you try it and realize that every 2 months I could successfully get a credit line increase, again, with the right script, with the right words, with the right human persuasion, because eventually it's like you are selling them that you should deserve more. Every 2 months, every 3 months, our members are getting credit line increases. We don't wait for being pre approved or anything like that. We just go for it. And if they say no, no problem. Hang up, call again. And it's incredible how well it works. It's like, when your iPhone is glitching or your laptop, you just reset it, back again, everything works. It's amazing. You're just
Because you'll
talking to
get
a
put
human.
with a different, they'll give you
Yeah,
a
it's a
different
different
service
human.
agent and a
Yeah,
different outcome.
correct. And eventually it's a human who approves or denies that. So it could be somebody who, you know, it's living in a city that it's not to their appeal, or they are fed up with life and they say, no, you are not approved. And they hang. And then you call another one, hey, it's in Tulum, it's in Puerto Escondido, who knows. They are coming from a very nice place, or they had an amazing vacation, they had sex and they are so happy. And they say, you want 50,000? Yes, there you go, boom, done. And it's 10 minutes ago they denied you.
There's the secret, folks. Let off some steam and then call again. And are you also thinking about building credit in other countries, like say in Latin America, or just purely US? Because you could
Mm,
build credit, say, in
yeah.
Paraguay or Panama, places like that as well.
You're right. This morning we were having a conversation. We shot a podcast episode with a developer company here in Paraguay, and they were mentioning how unprepared yet still is something that it's not yet here, but how unprepared Paraguay is for mortgages and loans. It's the system is not as ready in other countries. They were comparing Spain in the 80s, 1980s, to Paraguay right now. Because when Spain went from no mortgages, no loans, very difficult, to take as much as you want and develop and build your house and start buying, they say it's going to explode in Paraguay. But think that Paraguay is still a non-CRS country. What's non-CRS? Means that they did not sign this exchange of information with other countries, and there's just a few countries in the world that are non-CRS. Besides the only outlier, which is the USA, they don't exchange information with other countries. Yet is still a developed country itself, the banking. The other countries, if you see the non-CRS list, you can go on
Mhm.
Google and see that you have mainly Africa, many undeveloped countries in Asia, and then you have, I think, Venezuela and Paraguay are one of the few in Latin America that are non-CRS still. So it means that banking is not very developed here. And you see it in day to day. I mean, you have banking in Paraguay. You know what I'm talking about. It's not as seamless as in the US. It's not like European banks. So it's good, but it's not like wow. So building credit here is not as valuable or as interesting, I would say. What would be interesting is developing ties with banks that in the future can give me loans to buy assets. That's something that I'm actively creating. Banks in Mexico, banks in Paraguay, places where I have residency or citizenship or in the path of citizenship. That's what interests me, because that I can use the leverage of a 30% down payment and then 70% put by the bank. But honestly, the credit, I'm not as interested, because the main use for me in the USA, yeah, part of it is these 12 months that I don't have to give the money back. So I can just take $150,000, put it in my business, ads, crypto, real estate, whatever I want, and then pay it back 12 months later. Or I can just get another loan from another bank to pay the first one, and then I have 12 months more. That's a hack in the US to get extra time for these 100,000, 150,000, 250, whatever you want to request. But what I do it mainly in the US is for the points. And because I know that Paraguay, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Panama, not any of these countries is going to give me the same amount of valuable points like the USA. That's
Mhm.
why I didn't bother to do it. And also, actually, what you said before, it's very true. Like, you speak facts because you went through this process. It's clunky compared to US banks.
Mhm. People might not realize though that there are credit cards in Panama and Paraguay that give you VIP lounge access. Like you can get
Yeah,
at least priority pass.
yeah.
So maybe if like if someone got denied in ITIN, the U.S. tax number, what recourse
It's
would you
rare.
do? What would? Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, it's rare that it's very weird that they would deny you. At least we didn't have any denial. Like maybe because we used the acceptance agent and somebody who has a long track record. When we vetted this partner after going through a vetting process, which again it's difficult as hell to get into a first class citizen with the vetting processes. Like getting hired for Tesla or SpaceX to work with Elon Musk. It's sometimes I'm joking. It's like a similar level. I don't know their vetting process, but we are very very strict. So when we choose a partner, we want to know that they will deliver and that they will save time. Like speed is one of our main components when we are selecting a partner. And so far, like we've been issuing guidance for more than 2 years, and we had zero ones that were denied, like 100% success rate, and the average, as I said, 42 days. So I knock on wood that this partner will continue like this because it's amazing, one of our best services. The other is LLCs, like clockwork. They work all the time.
Mhm.
So I can say this because I don't know what happens when somebody gets denied an item. But even if somebody, let's say, they want the priority pass, I think that's a valid point. They want the priority, but they don't want to wait for the Chase Sapphire Reserve to arrive 1 year later, which could be normal, 8 to 12 months for a Chase Sapphire Reserve if you're starting with a fresh new ITIN. You could go the Paraguay route, correct? You could have, if you already have the residency here, you can go to the bank and ask for an Amex Platinum, and the Amex Platinum will give you access to the lounges anywhere in the world, like the Amex lounges. You can also get Priority Pass, as you say, with some other cards that are VIP, the premium tiers of the banks. Actually, Georgia is another hack. Armenia is another hack. In Georgia, you don't even have to be a resident to get these top tier cards. You can get an Amex Platinum in Georgia in like 2 days, basically visiting there as a tourist. So that's pretty cool. And Armenia, you it helps a lot. It's not mandatory, but it helps a lot if you're a resident to also get an Amex Gold and Amex Platinum like that. Super easy. So yeah, you could go to these countries to get some of the perks of it. Another advantage of the Amex in Paraguay is that you can pay with it in some establishments, restaurants and hotels, and even clothes shops, and you can get up to 40% discount. That's a question for you if you know the answer, man. How the heck they give you 40% discount? Like I have a picture, I can post it on Twitter. I took it last night.
Hmm.
They said, if you pay with the Amex Platinum from Ito Bank, we give you 40% discount in La Cabrera, this restaurant of meat restaurant, really good if they come here to Paraguay. It's like, how come? I went to a clothes shop and they were like, if you buy with this Ito card, the name, we give you 30% off on anything you want to buy in this store. How? It's ridiculous. So
Yeah,
that's the only place in the world where I've seen this.
ROI
Have
is
you seen
weird
it?
like
So
that.
have
It's
you seen
like
it anywhere else?
I've yeah, I've seen Francisco talk about this too, where it's like at the grocery store it'll be like on Tuesday, ten
Mhm.
percent off with the credit card, and it's like
Yeah,
what? Like what?
yeah,
What even is this promotion?
yeah. But 10% is still conceivable by the Canadian, American, or European mind.
Uh-huh.
But tell anybody of these countries, from these countries, that you can get 40% off
Uh-huh.
from a restaurant that is really good. Actually, it's not like a cheap restaurant that's yeah, fuck it, they're gonna give you 40%. They're gonna serve you, arepas refried in the same oil like the 20,000 other clients before. But no, it's actually a really good restaurant or a really luxury shopping mall. They're giving you 30 to 40% off. It's like, what's the catch? It's the only use case that I'm like, man, if you're living in Paraguay, get this Amex. I might be much better than any American Express Platinum because of forget about the points. You're getting a 40% cashback like right away. Insane. Never seen it anywhere else.
One other thing on the lounges that I'm pretty curious about. So I have Priority Pass, and what I find when I'm traveling is some of these lounges, they say we're full for priority pass holders, but we'll accept people with maybe the airline branded credit card or something like that. And so priority pass is sort of like it's good, but it's kind of like losing its value or sort of lower tier in terms of the hierarchy of who gets accepted into particular lounges. So I one thing I'm thinking about is like, how can I augment my priority pass by getting maybe like other lounge networks or other cards or something like that, so that I'm not getting denied at these lounges. Have you encountered this? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, you're right, and multiple ideas come to mind. The first one is, imagine you're in an airport. Let's paint this picture for everybody listening. You're at the airport and you have the American Express Centurion Lounge, and then you have another Priority Pass. But then it's not actually Priority Pass. Priority Pass is just a company that taps into different lounges, right? So let's say you have Aeromexico, Copa Airlines, whatever. You might have the Amex, and if you only have the Amex, I've seen times that you have 30 minutes of wait time. Then you go to the other lounge and you can enter right away. So if you, for example, have 1 hour or half an hour, you can't afford to wait with your American Express Platinum that looks very cool on paper, but you can't access the lounge because there's a line, and that's something you can't predict. It happened actually in one of the flights that I'm telling you this month. I'm traveling a lot. It happened to one of these, and I'm with my filmmaker. We're traveling together. He's traveling with me. We're around America, Latin America, and one of the lounges sometimes it's busy. Having another card allows you to then instantly walk 2 minutes, go to another counter, and boom, you're in. But what you said, it's true. So that's one of the advantages of having multiple cards: the Priority Pass, the Amex. Then you could have Lounge Key, etc.
Hmm.
But then there's another thing. You're right. Priority Pass now it's reducing the perks. For example, 1 year ago, wherever I traveled, I could bring any guest for free. Now, for the first time this year, they told me only for the main holder of the card. I was surprised. I've been to like more than 60, 70 lounges easily in you name it, more than 20 countries. Never happened to me. First time I was like, what? I said, okay, let me pay. Like it's like $35 usually. Let me pay for my filmmaker to enter with me. They said, no, sorry, we don't accept day passes. It's like, what the heck? So they're getting to this level, man. And this is something that makes me think, oh, maybe they are playing the game of. And I said, then how come he could enter? And he said, if he had Aeromexico branded card, like the one specific for this, the Aeromexico credit card, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
It's like, interesting. And then Copa Airlines wants you to have the Copa Airlines card, and Avianca wants you to, and this is what they are playing right now. So again, it's one of these things that we are taking for granted. We are so spoiled. You know it because you also access these lounges, and you know how great it is to have Priority Pass. And before it was just go anywhere. Pretty much every lounge is going to accept Priority Pass. But now they are cracking it down, and it can be we don't accept day passes, only for the owner, no guests. So they start with these things that make me think, man, this is a great ride. I hope it lasts for a long time. But I would say if you can get yourself one of these cards and use it while still it's widely accepted, for example, Priority Pass, that comes as a complement to Paraguayan cards or Georgian cards or American cards, do it because we don't know until when it will last. And I think this is a message as well for the whole podcast. We're sharing residencies, citizenships, credit cards, and all of these VIP lounges perks. They last until they last. There was a day that Paraguay said, last day that you can become a permanent resident, and now you have to spend more time, more money, and multiple trips to get the same thing that 1 month before you could do like this.
Hmm.
Turkey, it was 250,000 to get real estate and get the citizenship by investment. Then 400,000. Same with Greece, one price, then they increased it, from 250 to 400,000. The Caribbean, St. Kitts, one day was 125, next day double, 250, right? For the same asset, for the same passport, the same booklet, the same citizenship, the same residency, the same credit card. So it's one of the things of seize it while you can.
Yep. Seize it
It's a
while you
reminder
can.
of do it if you can do it now, do it now.
Yeah, guys, if you see a program that you qualify for that seems to be a no-brainer, you really got to make it a priority. I know it's easy to procrastinate on things because you have other things going on in your life, but these things really come and go, and you got to get your foot in the door because Mikel, tell the audience. I mean, the general trend is that the requirements are only going up, the costs are only going up. It's just getting more and more difficult to obtain these residencies and these cards and so forth.
You're right. It's just I would tell them, don't believe my word. Don't actually anything that I said. Don't trust my word. Just verify everything that I just said. But check history, like the examples of the countries I just mentioned. Did it get easier? You know the answer. It's rare. Of course, there are new programs that are launching. But of course, it's getting easier. Like fucking Nauru. You want now to get a Nauru citizenship or passport. It's like, yeah, great. Now they are making it public and official CBI, citizenship by investment program. Of course, there's a moment where they launch and it becomes boom accessible. There was a time where the Turkish CBI did not exist, and then it existed for 250. But usually it's these windows of time that it's from unavailable to available. But after it's available, and it usually just gets harder.
Because there's just more and more people doing this. So I think the early adopters, you and I,
Hmm.
who were doing it even before the pandemic,
Yeah.
um, it's like the rules that were on the books at that point in time didn't even take into account digital nomads and that people could be sort of globally mobile. And that now that there's just such a larger percentage of the human population that has international mobility and works online. I mean, there's just more demand for these programs, and then so it's just a supply and demand thing to some extent.
Correct. And actually, another thing that people don't consider is the backlog. Because you can still get the Portuguese golden visa, you can still get the Greek golden visa, you can still get the Turkish CBI, the passport. But before it was 3 months in Turkey, and now it's closer to 9 to 12 months. Portugal, at once, it was 4 months. Now they have officially by IMI Daily, they verified 36.2 months of backlog. So it's 3 years and 2 months that you need to wait to get the golden visa that people before used to get in 3 months. Greece used to be 4 months and they had a backlog of 12 months. So yeah, it's you can still get it. They didn't close the program. Maybe they increased the price, but you're also wasting more time. And this is again the topic recurring theme of this podcast about speed. Time you can't get it back. You can't get it back. So I would say people don't just think about how much money you save or how much more money you will have to pay in the future if you don't take action now. It's think about the time. Being the average person versus being the visionary or the early adopter, like you are mentioning, I think you're so right. It has a tremendous advantage. Yeah,
Yeah, the backlog's a really good point, honestly. That was a good point of yours because even with the CBIs too, I think it used to be less than 6 months passport in hand. And now it's 9 months, 12 months, 15 months, depending on which CBI, right?
correct. Or Armenia, for example, before they pretty much accepted anybody, and now they are starting to deny more applications because it's getting more strict. Because again, many people started using this program, and then security team, the department in Armenia said, wait, let's make it a bit more strict. Before, American banks 2 years ago didn't ask you anything. You went there with the ITIN. You said you lived in that address. Could be like any address you googled on Google Maps. That's it. Close to the branch you were applying, and that's pretty much it. Done. It was so simple. And now they tell you utility bill. If somebody massaged digitally, for example, some people told me, "Oh, I went there and it didn't work." And I said, "Great. What utility bill?" Well, it was from a friend. I massaged it digitally, and I presented that. It's like, and what happened? Well, the banker told me, okay, cool, scroll, and I couldn't scroll because it was an image. It was actually not a real utility bill, or it was not logged in into the app. So it's just getting stricter. Everything that I see these processes, they are learning from what others try to do to hack the system, and they become immune. It's like a bacteria and the antidote. It gets
Mhm.
just resistant, and every time it's more difficult. But when you got it, you are grandfathered. It's
Yep.
rare that if you got it, you then have to go again through another KYC or another process to keep it. No, much easier.
Yep. Once you're in, you're in. Speaking of trends, what do you see on the horizon for global mobility? What are some predictions or some things that you're excited about?
Hmm, that's a really good question. I would say I'm excited. But for example, the connectivity, like the Tulum airport, that was so exciting, man. It's one of my favorite news this year. When Tulum airport opened, because I love Tulum, I spent a lot of time there. I thought it was a fantastic new because I could go from Miami to Tulum directly. I landed in Tulum, and it feels like a private jet terminal. It's amazing. Nothing to do with Mexico City migration, Cancun, nothing to do. It's fantastic. It feels like a private jet terminal, honestly. It's new, it's beautiful, and now they're opening flights for the first time Tulum to Europe directly.
Hmm.
So that's another great news. For example, when Florianopolis and Asuncion connected with direct flights, and you don't have to go through Buenos Aires or Sao Paulo or Rio, that was another fantastic news. You know, so that's something that I'm looking forward to the coming years. Airports becoming much more connected. Another example of Tulum and Mexico, the Maya train. It's gonna connect all the peninsula there in Yucatan, Quintana Roo. It's gonna be fantastic. Imagine going through all of these places with the comfort of a train, carrying much more luggage. Not my case, but maybe in the future, I want to carry more luggage, and I have the comfort of the train, which is something that I usually associate only with Europe, like a proper train experience. But now it's going to Latam, so that's pretty cool. And I would say another exciting thing that I'm looking forward to it's more people tapping into podcasts like yours. I'm so happy that when you told me the news that you are in the episode 240, it's like, man, that's amazing. Imagine the amount of knowledge that you've shared with everybody for free online, and people listening to your podcast and learning something new. Maybe today was the click of the reconsideration line, or the new residency, or this thing that they can do that they didn't even consider possible. When more people listen to this, to others that paved the road in a specific, very niche topic, and as I said, my students, the members, not even the students, like other business owners that are fucking smart and just take my system and make it better and hack it even more and achieve in 4 months what took me like 2 years almost to get. They are just being pioneers in new things. So I love that the level of connectivity and generosity among content creators and people taking action on what we share so they can even further improve and refine our systems. And they share it, and we learn it in a mastermind or in a offline meetup, which is something I'm really happy doing as well. Meeting people in person, it's where the true connections happen, and they share these tricks that then I'm sharing here with you that I learned from somewhere else. And when we have this collective mind of improvement, that's something that 5 years ago or 10 years ago with forums was available,
Hmm.
but not as easily available as it is today. Today the speed, it's Godspeed, and with ChatGPT, it's incredible. So I can't wait 5 more years. See, like when we are sharing all of these, the expert of Panama, the expert of Mexico, the expert of Paraguay, the credit cards, all sharing these hacks, and all of us, going group to that country and getting that new residency, that new CVI. Man, the speed we can achieve together, it's incredible. That's why I like to be generous with the content, and I invest so much money in content because, of course, the cameras, the editors, the trips, everything costs money, but the returns I get are incredible. Not just financially, of course, it's a business, but also the connections, the people I meet, makes me want to keep being generous with information because I also get a lot in return, and it's a cooperative effort. It's really beautiful.
Dude, you must be investing a lot because each one of those Instagram videos isn't cheap. Like
Yeah,
you go for the high end of
yeah.
you got all the bells and whistles. I for the audience, I edit the podcast myself. It's very easy. I can do it in like 5 seconds. It's just easier for me to do that than to pay some guy, honestly. But you invest more in your business than I invest in mine, which I'm
Hmm.
envious of. So you've obviously found a way to get an ROI on that.
Hmm. Yeah, obviously.
And Instagram's been going really well. It seems that seems to be like where it must have clicked where you probably put up a few videos. You weren't sure how it was going to go. You got like a really good response. And you're like, okay, this is actually working better than expected. Let's double down.
Yeah, 100%. Instagram, YouTube. That's a strategy that I followed time ago, and it also resonates with the type of person that I am. I believe a lot in karma and in giving good things, providing goodwill and receiving. Like somehow the universe always provides 10 times more. Somehow. I don't know. But man, it works. You are generous with information. You give for free things that took you years and money and mentors and consultants, lawyers, that you invested from your own money. You give it for free, and then voila, the magic happens. And the reason, well, the proof is we are now close to, I think we crossed 270 clients this week. So it's something that we have as community, and each member. The cool thing is it's a successful business owner in their own niche that is just like doing amazing job. We have from people in crypto, real estate, people into old cars, collecting cars that they are doing some crazy hacking with those things, mortgages, loans. We help people, of course, all the online niches you can imagine: the sales closers, the trainers, the info products guy, the e-commerce guy, like all these niches, but people with super interesting stories. And I'm sharing this because, let's say, in 1 year I want to rewatch this episode and be like, wow. And now we have all of these people, that every time that I'm going to a city, usually on average we are having dinner 8 to 10 people in every city I land, no matter where in the world. I mean,
Mhm.
capital, of course, if I go to a to a town in the jungle, they're in fucking Colombia, Putumayo, I'm not gonna find anybody there. But when I go to Asuncion, Mexico City, Panama, we go to Dubai, we go to Barcelona, Marbella, in these hubs, in Thailand, in Bali, I know there's always first class citizens in there, and it's amazing because many times I'm not even there, and they connect between them, and business opportunities spark because they share interests, they share the trust as well that they all invested there, they have this thing in common. So that's pretty cool, man. And that's the best of investing that much in quality content, because it also
Mhm.
attracts this type of audience.
And it sounds like you try to get a really good understanding of your client's business. Like it's pretty easy to, do a Paraguay residency for
Yeah.
someone and not really actually understand what the hell they do because it doesn't even have
Mhm.
financial requirements. But it sounds like you try to get a better understanding of your clients, of their business, what makes them tick, so that you can maybe help them more holistically.
I like to meet each one of my clients in person.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've met more than 100 for sure, hands down. I would say even 120, like pretty easily. 100 for sure. Like we have a list, and I don't know the exact count, but 100 I know I crossed it. I crossed it this year, and I know them in person. I know their stories. I know their families. I have even a Rolodex. Like I talk about the word Rolodex, which is this old way of storing contacts and everything when the old phones. And I borrowed this word, which I like, and I know the names of their kids. I know their birthdays. Know the what they like to eat. I know their hobbies. Like the guy who loves to play golf in this Miami golf course, and he goes there every Saturday with the friends. And I know all these little details from my clients, and it's something that our company has, internally, because this way we can also offer an experience that is nowhere to be found, like only in these top brands like Rolls Royce, Ferrari, like hotels like Aman, that they know these things about you and they can deliver something unique, something like truly exceptional. And I had this approach from the very beginning. Yeah, we started asking for these things and taking notes, and then when it's their birthday, sending a very very tailored gift that is definitely nothing that, if you don't know the person very in detail, you would never guess that that would be the best gift they could receive in their birthday or their son's birthday, receiving a video or message that, congratulations, your son. So things
Mhm.
like that. We do it, and it's thanks to being able to travel a lot because of my business, and yeah, meeting them in person. So yeah, more than 100 for sure. And now this next year we are organizing more. We're going doubling down on the offline experiences and doing both meetups and summits, where we are gathering more than 40, 50 people. In 2024, we gathered one in Tbilisi. We rented a whole castle, and 30 people, 30 businessmen were there. There's a YouTube video on that. But yeah, it's not only the content that was shared there, but also the experience, like something that
Mhm.
on your own, it's difficult, not impossible, of course, more difficult to rent a whole castle. Or some of the experiences for 2025 is going private jet, that again, you could get something for 20,000, 30,000. But if you are a group, we can go together from one city to the other in private jet, private islands. I'm not gonna do the full spoiler here, but if they stay tuned to the channel and our communication, our email
Uh,
list, they will know before others What do we have prepared for this next year?
I can definitely see it doing the Tate cigar in the private jet photo. I could I'm
Yeah,
definitely
because I don't smoke, but if I smoked, yeah, I would. I don't smoke and I don't
as a
drink.
prop.
That's yeah, but yeah, I would have some members there with a cigar if they want. That's totally fine with them.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, become a client of Miquel, and you get your son gets a birthday gift. So there.
uh,
And tell me about how the sort of portfolio of services you offer has changed over time, because I think you kind of started with the residencies and then you got into the LLCs and the ITIN stuff. Now it
mhm,
looks like you're doing a bit of a push towards the European golden visas and maybe the
mhm.
CBI as well. What are you sort of adding to the portfolio? How has it changed over time?
Hmm. We like things that are difficult to get. So if something's difficult, we want to crack the code, or we want to offer things that are difficult to find somewhere else. So, for example, this accelerated journey for non-US citizens on the credit card world. That's something I think very tailored, very niche, because there's a lot of American citizens that teach other Americans how to improve their credit repair, loans, etc. But a non-US citizen that got to the point of getting these results in 4 months, from 0 to 720 credit score, all these elite cards, this is pretty unique. So that's something we're doubling down on. We are doing, yeah, golden visas as well, because we understood that our audience were interested in mobility and access to the EU. That's something they value. Winter, summers, the security for their family,
Mhm.
so that's also valuable. Then, these, let's say, joker cards, like Armenia is like a wild card, it's like
Sure.
Armenia, boom, Armenia, yeah. Or driving licenses in, places that not many people offer, or things like that. So I would say that, yeah, if it's something we can add a lot of speed, getting an item instead of 6 months in 42 days, like a month and a half or a month in 10 days, that's something we are interested in. Something that gives people options, like top tier passports. European passports are top notch, ranked in mobility. And yeah, basically, another thing that we are doubling down and we are sharing a lot in the marketing and everything is combining all of these structures together,
Mhm.
because you can find the provider of Paraguay that knows nothing else than just that service and that program and that country. You have the accountant in the US that knows about taxes in the US, that's it. Or the one doing golden visa in Greece, but that's it. And then having our team where we put in touch, we have, of course, a lot of internal processes where our partners from one country gets connected with the other ones, and they have meetings and meetups in person where we pay them, we fly them, we send them together, so we can create this network of, this guy is well aware of all the other 15 countries or 20 countries that we cater. Even though he's a very strong in his one, let's say he's 100% in this, he's like 60% in all the other countries, and maybe 80% in three or four that work very well with that. So let's say Paraguay and Armenia has not much to do. So the Paraguay agent or team knows 60% about the Armenia program because they're being educated, but they know 80% or 90% regarding LLCs because that's a very common setup. The Cyprus people know 60% about Panama or Mexico residency, but they know very well the LTDs and are very well connected with the UK team because
Mhm.
UK and Cyprus work well together. So that's how we're playing it.
And what about real estate?
That's also a good point. A place like Portugal has another trick that I'm going to share here, which is you can finance real estate at 2 to 2.5% a year for over 5 years with only a 30% down payment. So it means you put 30% down, let's say you want $1 million property, you put 300,000 and the other 700,000, they're going to finance it for you at 5 years, only with 2 to 2.5% interest every year. Knowing that the inflation, they say it's 4% on paper. We know it's much more. It could be 5, 6, 7% in some countries. You're basically borrowing free money. And the day that I launched this proposal to our investors, like, or let's say, higher net worth clients, they went crazy, and now they are like, we are booking these villa tours and cars and transfers across Porto, Cascais, Lisbon, all these areas Estoril, that they can buy this real estate, and then connecting them with the financing department that we established a partnership. We signed an agreement with them to work together, and boom, they can now get basically free money if they have the liquidity to put
Uh,
the down
but
payment.
why is it? How is it so low? How is it only 2.5%?
That's the thing. That's a good question. I
Is this for
actually
pre-construction or is this like like a normal house that's
could be any of the two, man. Could be
okay?
any of the two. And if you want a car, they also finance cars. So we have somebody who is into car collection, these rare pieces of
Uh-huh.
like models 30 years old, but really well conserved, that they're also financing these cars with down payment, and boom, they can buy the car in Portugal, plated in Portugal. So it's really interesting, the real estate world. I'm really interested in every country that allow us to do financing. Spain is another big one. Of course, it's there's a huge market for loans and mortgages. Of course, the US is another one that you can get loans and mortgages. Dubai, UAE is another one that's good. But yeah, Portugal, it's been one of the last additions to this portfolio of real estate that we help our clients build, especially in places we can get residency or citizenship to the client. We usually have already, if not, we are very soon going to develop this partnership with real estate agents. That again, it takes us months to go there, meet them in person multiple
Hmm.
times to ensure that they are not, dodgy, or they're not going to ghost, or they're not going to disappear. We usually work with people who've been in the industry for many years, and yeah, then we make the connection so they can get the residency with us, and that's why people pay more. There's of course cheaper providers. We don't compete with price ever. We are usually on the higher end of prices for everything, but we have this level of connection that somebody gets residency in Paraguay, but then for free, like they don't have to pay extra. We're going to make the introduction with somebody that allows them to buy the house. For example, we got somebody citizenship by exception in Serbia, which is possible. It's legal. It's Article 19 of the law. And that person, after he got the citizenship, the passport, the Serbian passport, wanted to buy real estate in there. And it took him like three different interviews with three different companies that were selling real estate. And in less than a week, he bought a property for $2 million. Done. That's it. Because we already have built the connections with the people that we know are trustworthy to show him the real estate, and he got something in Belgrade waterfront.
Hmm.
So that's the thing. If he had just gotten a service with somebody who only knew about residency, temporary residency, or citizenship by exception, or whatever service, and that's it, it would be cheaper. But then it would have taken him all the due diligence, all the work, on him to go through all the agencies, talk to all the real estate developers, to have
Hmm.
access to the best properties, the penthouses, not just like the first floor, second floor of that building, but actually the best penthouse, reserved. So it's these connections and this the connection and saving time to the client that we like to compete on versus other companies.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, just taking Mexico as an example. You like Tulum area,
Yeah.
and there's realtors like Riviera Maya realtor, but then I have other clients that say, "Oh, actually, I want to buy in Puerto Escondido or in
Hmm.
Vallarta or something like that,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, I got to go make like relationships like in
Yeah.
every little market within Mexico, and so it's probably one of the biggest things I get asked in general is
Hmm.
real estate in Latin America that I don't really have a cohesive solution. I might have to start a startup that helps people buy like all around Latin America or something. But I don't know. I'm curious how you do it. But
Yeah, it's a lot of work, man. To be honest, there's no for this thing. I don't have a loophole. I don't have a hack. It's a lot of work and luck as well. Many of the things that happen in my life, it's pure luck. Meeting the right person at the right time, and boom, luck. So I'm very lucky. I think I'm very loved by the universe because I can see it every day. Like I'm very grateful every day with things that happen because it's like, how come? It seems like magic. It's incredible. So yeah, luck plays a big part. Then hard work, having a team that also works really hard. We work Monday to Sunday. It's not a culture of weekends off or anything like that. You can take it easy, then take vacations or a few days to travel. But we are just like putting the hours, putting the reps, all of us. And I filter like this, like everybody that I hire, it's filtered to be able to work these hours and to really want things and work harder, but then also get rewarded better than in other places. So I like these edges, higher work, higher reward. And I would say then referrals, if I have to give a tip, is it's much easier to know the right person through a referral, because the person who introduces you to the other, let's say the real estate agent, say a client that lives in Portugal and gets a service for Paraguay, but knows somebody because he's been living all his life in Portugal. He recommends you this guy that does the financing, or this guy that offers the villas and the real estate opportunities in Cascais, let's say. And because he wants to keep their good reputation with you, you're going to
Hmm.
make sure that the people he introduces you to is the right
Yeah.
person. So referrals go a long way, because it's something you want to keep your integrity and not lose it, the good faith and the good relationship you have with somebody else. So I would say, if you have a strong network, the stronger your network, it's just a snowball effect, because then it's just much easier, because you keep knowing more and more people you can trust.
Hmm.
Then anything I want, I have an insider group. I just send a message, and usually in a matter of minutes now. But 2 years ago, it took me like weeks or months, as you say, going to places, visiting Puerto Val. In your case, you like Puerto Vallarta, Puerto Escondido, or me going to Tulum. Now it's just like, hey, I need this. Ping! 3 solutions come in my Telegram right away.
Yeah, I think the audience doesn't realize this, Mikel, that let's say they wanted to, find their own lawyer and then like off Google or something and then work with them. They don't have like the client, listen to this, you won't have a lot of recourse if they stop responding, or if they respond slow, or if they take your money, or something goes wrong. But if you kind of do it through someone like Mikel or myself, that we're feeding the lawyers dozens of clients, um, so it's a much more vetted process. But also we can kind of step in and be like, yo, you got to look into John's case, you got to respond to John's WhatsApp message right now, and we can sort of apply pressure and more leverage than some random guy from Wisconsin is able to do by himself.
You're right. You're totally right. And even if this guy from Wisconsin has a lot of resources, he does not have the contacts to be able to fight for that case. So we have the lawyers and the resources, and we want to protect our brand. You want people to talk good about my Latin life, right? And if you need to step in and make something right for the client, you're going to do it.
Hmm.
You're not going to accept, oh, the lawyer's not responding. Fuck you, client. You're not going to do that. That's at least not how I do it. If the
Hmm.
client, something happens, I'm responsible. And sometimes I had to put money for things that did not go well, but I had to cover it, like as an insurance, for the client, because he paid me and I'm responsible.
Hmm.
So I think that that's a safety net that, yeah, of course, we are the middle people, right? They are not going directly with the lawyer, but they have this protection and this network effect that you're talking about.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to hit you up offline about this Portugal financing. I actually want to buy a place in Portugal myself, bro. So,
Mhm.
um, but we'll kind of get to wrapping up. We hit the 2 hour mark, so congratulations to us. I haven't had a 2 hour pod in a while, so hopefully we gave you some good content for your
Mhm.
clips.
Yeah, totally, man. It felt so natural. Just the way you started the podcast with more personal questions, and you asked me things that I did not get asked in other podcasts. So props to you, man. Congrats, because you are preparing them. You're watching the content. Like, you're going into places. I'm like, God damn it! How does he know that? So that's really good. Felt
For
amazing.
sure, man. For sure. Hopefully we can maybe do like a collab meetup in the future or something like that,
Mhm.
right? Like a
Totally.
co-hosted meetup.
Yeah, and people will know your face. They will see you, because many people just know your voice. Many people just know your voice. So yeah, they will know who you are. He's a human, or maybe he's AI. You will find out.
Cool, man. So do you want to let people know where they can find you, all that good stuff, share a final message with the audience?
Yeah, basically they will find it through your page somewhere. You will put the links. So first class citizen, first class investor. This would be the two main places, and then Miquel Girones, my name. Just make any combination of these, or put these keywords and whatever topic you want to find. Miquel Girones, Portugal. Miquel Girones, Serbian citizenship. Miquel Girones, this, or first class citizen, that, or first class investor. Best credit cards for this, best credit cards for FBA stores, or best credit cards for buying ads. You're gonna just find it. I keep putting content every day that is available. So anything you want to do, just put these keywords and see the answer. It's there for you. If it helps you, amazing. I'm more than happy.
Yeah, you definitely do some things that we don't do. The Serbia, Armenia, a lot of things. So, guys, go to Mikel for all that stuff. Definitely a trusted partner here, and you can also mention My Latin Life to get treated extra nice.
Exactly. That your son gets a gift with my Latin Life logo there. When it's the birthday.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. We got things to talk about offline. Let's
Yeah.
definitely put some meetups together, man. All that good stuff. But thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we finally made it happen.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. And yeah, man, it took months, but we made it, and hopefully people listening are getting some value out of it.
Yeah, man. This will come out probably after Christmas, but Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to you as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's wrap it up there. So this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, our guest today, Miquel Girones. Gotta work on my Catalan. But thank you to the audience for listening. Thanks to Miquel for joining us. Guys, please subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, X, YouTube, wherever you're listening to this. Be sure to subscribe. We put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests like Miquel, and you won't want to miss an episode. Ciao for now.
Ciao.